Before Elon Musk was the richest man in the world, before the rockets, before the electric cars, Elon Musk was a kid who understood pain. He was an awkward outsider, bullied so badly it put him in the hospital, all while navigating a traumatic home life that almost broke him. So, how does a boy from South Africa, haunted by a brutal childhood and hit with one crushing failure after another, become the guy building rockets to Mars and pioneering cars that are learning to drive themselves? This is the story of how Elon Musk survived it all and bet everything over and over to build his empire from the ashes of his dreams. Section 1. A Traumatic Childhood. Our story starts in Pretoria, South Africa. Born in 1971, Elon was a quiet, nerdy kid who lived more in his books than in the real world, which made him an easy target. The bullying at school was relentless and physically dangerous, but the torment didn't stop at the school gates. At home, he endured what he has described as a difficult and emotionally damaging relationship with his father, a man Musk would later call a terrible human being. His escape? Books and computers. He buried himself in code, teaching himself everything. And at just 12 years old, he created and sold his first video game. It was just a tiny flicker of the fire that was building inside him. That early pain didn't break him. It forged a tolerance for suffering and an obsession to build a different life for himself. Section 2. The Escape and First Gamble. At 17, Musk got out. He left South Africa for Canada, driven by the dream of making it to America, where all the big opportunities were. While avoiding mandatory military service in the apartheid-era army was a plus, the real goal was to get closer to Silicon Valley. After bouncing from a Canadian university to the University of Pennsylvania, he and his brother Kimball decided it was time to take their shot. They dove headfirst into the dot-com boom with their first company, Zip2, an online city guide. They started with some family money, though how much and how critical it was is a point of debate. Those early days were anything but glamorous. They were so broke that they literally slept on a futon in their tiny office, showered at the YMCA, and lived on cheap hot dogs. They weren't homeless. They were all in, pouring every cent and every waking hour into their idea. And it worked. In 1999, Compaq swooped in and bought Zip2 for over $300 million. At 27, Elon Musk was suddenly worth $22 million. Section 3. The all-in moment. Most people would have called it a day. Not Musk. He took his millions and immediately rolled the dice on something even bigger. He co-founded an online bank called X.com, which you probably know by the name it took after a merger, PayPal. When eBay bought PayPal for $1.5 billion, Musk's take was over $175 million. Now, he could finally aim for the stars, literally. He poured nearly every dollar of his fortune into two ventures that sounded like pure science fiction: SpaceX, to make humans a multiplanetary species, and Tesla, to kickstart the world's shift to sustainable energy. And that's when everything almost fell apart. Between 2006 and 2008, his world crumbled. The first 3 SpaceX rockets blew up on launch. Tesla was a mess of production nightmares and was burning through cash. The 2008 financial crisis hit, and the money was drying up fast. The media called him a failed dot-com millionaire. He was on the brink of losing everything, with just enough cash left for one last rocket launch. Section 4. Triumph over adversity. This was it, the ultimate make-or-break moment. The world was watching, and most people were expecting another fireball. But in September 2008, the fourth Falcon 1 rocket soared into orbit flawlessly. It was a stunning, unbelievable victory that saved SpaceX. The universe seemed to agree. Just days later, NASA handed SpaceX a lifeline, a $1.6 billion contract. And as if that wasn't dramatic enough, on Christmas Eve of that same year, with only hours left before Tesla would have gone bankrupt, Musk pulled together the funding to save it too. He had stared into the financial abyss and didn't blink. He hadn't just saved his companies, he had put them on the path to change the world. Tesla would eventually become the most valuable car company on the planet, and SpaceX would completely upend the aerospace industry with its reusable rockets. Elon Musk's story isn't about going from rags to riches. It's a story about resilience, a resilience born from childhood trauma and tested by the brink of total financial ruin. It's a powerful lesson in what can happen when you refuse to quit. As Musk himself often says, if something is important enough, you should try, even when the most likely outcome is failure. His life is proof that sometimes you have to risk everything to turn an impossible dream into a world-changing reality.